Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our show called FPA. I am one of your hosts, Alfonso, and I have my partner, Paulo, right next to me, so we can talk about the book called The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
What a beautiful and sunny day it is for talking about books.
Yeah, I know, right? And as a surprise for our viewers, we are right here with the author of this book, Robert Louis Stevenson, because you guys asked if we could bring the author of the next book that we were going to criticize. So we could have an interview with the author. So let's welcome Mr. Robert with an applause. So tell us, Mr. Robert, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm doing good. How about you too?
Pretty good. Well, now tell us, what was your first reaction of how the people all over the world reacted to your own book?
Well, I was pretty happy that my book was receiving good critics all over the world because when I was writing this book, I didn't think it was going to have that big of an impact.
Now, can you tell us, for the people that don't know what the book is about, a little summary of this book?
Well, this story is about a lonely doctor named Jiku who was an intelligent, noble, and good person. He always lived by his own and dedicated his personal life for experiments and projects of his own. But one day, one of his experiments went wrong. This experiment consisted of a potion which was meant to make him stronger, but instead make him turn into another personality named Hyde, which was a small, disgusting, and evil guy. Also, his body created an addiction to this potion, so whenever he drank it, he would turn into Mr. Hyde.
But what was the problem with him turning into another personality?
The interesting thing about Mr. Hyde was that he was very evil and was used to doing wrong things and hurting others, so Dr. Jekyll was worried he would get in trouble because of it. But guys, enough questions from me. Now tell me, what are your thoughts of the book?
Well, if we're really being honest, we didn't like it that much.
Why was that?
Because we think that it was a little obvious that your novel was meant to create an inextricable link between civilization and savagery, and how in this past these two were a really big problem for society.
Yes, Alfonso is right. Even though you wanted to make awareness of how in the past right and wrong were like white and black, but nowadays not everything has to be like that because since there is a balance represented by color gray.
But guys, as you may know, I'm from Europe, where at the beginning of the 1800s, lots of criminal cases started to appear, and no one seemed to really care.
That's right, but one thing we think you could improve was the ending since it was really dark.
Yeah, in the ending, when Jekyll commits suicide and confesses Hyde's homicide, you are showing the readers that he took the easy way out, because he didn't have to pay for any of his crimes when he should have done it.
Well, what I really intended with that ending was for people to make conscious about how you should always confess all of your sins no matter what.
Another thing we found pretty lame was how the people of the town weren't capable enough to realize that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde were the same guy. And this because it was really obvious, since when one of them was not to be found, the other one appeared, and vice versa.
But you know, Alfonso, maybe he intended to do that on purpose to illustrate how sometimes people are not cautious enough and they lack this survival instinct that we all should have. Am I right, Robert?
Yes, of course. Pablo is 100% right. That was my main idea when I decided to make it so obvious that Jake and Hyde were the same person, and no one would be able to notice at first glance.
One thing we can tell we really enjoyed of the book was its length, because it was perfect. It wasn't too short nor too long, so the reader was going to be able to enjoy the book without getting exhausted.
Another thing is, even though the book has its parts of improvement, Mr. Over found a way of keeping the reader immersed in the story and its mystery, because when you start reading it, you don't want to stop until you're able to finish it.
Oh my god. I'm so glad now that you're telling me that.
Yeah, of course, you don't have to worry about people not liking your book, because every single reader has their own opinion and their own preferences. Un rap goddamn aquí.
Yes, not everyone is going to share our thoughts of the book.
You guys don't know how worried I was about my book not selling enough copies, but now I am a lot more confident and calm.
Well, this was great. Thanks for joining us today, Robert. We really appreciate your participation in our podcast.
We enjoyed having you here today, and we hope that someday in the near future you could join us again.
I appreciate the invitation. For sure, I will be joining you for some time in the future. I hope your podcast keeps on growing and wish you a nice day.
Well, that's it for today's show, everybody. Make sure to write down a comment down below of who you want us to bring in our next episode and which book do you want us to criticize and talk about. See you guys next time.